welcome. My name is Bruce Cronquist. I'm chairing the session. I'd like to go ahead and welcome Ruth Eichholz and Oliver Groups to the session. They're going to be talking about Give Me Five for Digital Fitness, a new approach to online learning. And personally, I'm a fan of escape rooms, so I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys have applied this. So I'll go ahead and get you all kicked off. Be my guest.
Thank you so much. I just shared my screen with our slides. I hope everybody can see it. And welcome to our session, Give Me Five for Digital Fitness. We're going to share our experience in developing a self-paced online learning app that delivers learning content in 5-minute chunks for daily digital fitness. We're pretty excited to be here, but I think I speak for both of us when I say we'd rather be in New York. Participating online this year gives us a chance to gain new experience in hybrid events that we actually will be able to share with our colleagues. As you'll hear in our session, sharing best practices of digital collaboration is actually our job. So let me jump right in. We've prepared quite a lot that we want to share with you today. We'd like to show you our development path, including the need that we recognized within our company for alternate forms of learning. Let you see the app in action, talk about our next steps, and hopefully engage with you in discussion about learning, apps, digital skill development, and so on.
Okay, who we are. Our company is the third biggest energy provider in Germany. And as you might have noticed, in Germany, we are currently, let me see, decommission our nuclear plants. So we are building up windmills and renewable sources to get our power sources. Our company has around about 26,000 employees, and we manage in our IT, we manage around about 15,000 PCs. Our main location is Baden-Württemberg in Germany, and our headquarters is in Karlsruhe. No one of you might know where Karlsruhe is, but I bet some of you know Heidelberg, Frankfurt, and Munich. And these towns are quite close, depending on what's close. Munich is 250 kilometers, Heidelberg is 70 kilometers. You can reach it with your bicycle if you like. And Karlsruhe is also very, very close to French border. That means for me, it's half an hour drive with my bike to get to France. My name is Oliver Grobs, and I am a digital enabler. That means I try to bring the digital tools and the knowledge about IT and how the employees of our company can manage their daily business with our IT and our solutions. And the main goal we are currently trying to bring in mind is the new ways of collaboration and the new ways of work, which is sometimes quite hard. Since 1 year, I'm a Power Apps addicted. I travel a lot personally. I've been a couple of times to the US, to Australia, New Zealand, Canada. I'm also a salsa dancer, and with my 51 years, I got a late father because we got a boy last year, which is now 1.5, and he's now a big part of my life. And as you may have noticed in the back, I'm also a darts player. Ruth, how about you?
Thanks, Ollie. Hi, everybody. I'm Ruth Eichholz. My name is very German, but I'm actually American. I'm from Portland, Oregon. But I've been living in Germany for over 20 years now. Currently, I am a portfolio manager for the Digital Workplace Department. But previously, I worked in the digital enabling team with Ollie. So we started this app together just about 14 months ago. My career actually spans 2 continents and 4 countries and has focused on 2 industries, software and education. So in addition to being an IT nerd, I'm also a math nerd, and I taught in international baccalaureate system in Canada and in Germany. I love learning. I love talking about learning and learning about learning. So this conference is the right place for me. I'm also a bookworm and an avid balcony gardener. And I have 2 awesome teenage boys, and they make sure that my life is never boring. So let's get started with the problem that we recognized. In many ways, they're old school problems. So we were delivering a lot of content and instruction in relatively short amount of time in a classic webinar training style. And this left some participants overwhelmed. And at the same time, and this isn't on the slide, we had other participants who wanted to cover much more material and were bored for 75% of the training session. And despite labeling trainings as beginner or advanced, we regularly ended up with the entire ability spectrum in one session. This is a classic classroom problem as well. I really enjoyed the keynote speech. I think we were really serving the just tell me what to do audience that Ian referred to in his keynote. We found that people weren't taking the time to use their new skills following a training, so they had forgotten what they learned by the time they needed it, maybe 3 weeks later. We didn't have enough practical exercises that allowed for hands-on learning. It was much more instructive in that we were kind of telling them step by step where to click. In my experience as a math educator, learning by doing or by discovering was always more effective for my students. So you can tell someone how to do math, but that doesn't mean they get it, right? Same with technology. And then we also have the problem of scalability. Our enabling team can only teach so many people in any given session, and we want to scale to all 26,000 colleagues that we have.
We also asked a lot of consultants about how can you help us? And they all told us, yeah, do more webinars, pay us for doing more webinars. And we said, no, that's not the idea. And we thought about one feedback from our users. They said, we need more practice. But we didn't have time for practice. So we tried to turn the whole thing around and only practice. And our approach was to bring very small pieces of practice tasks to the people and let them learn on doing themselves. And we were there in first sessions just for help, just for support when they did not get further. But what we mentioned what we found out very early was that our tasks were much too big. When you say to someone, run a marathon, it's way too big for most people. Some can do that, but I think 99% of the people I tell run a marathon cannot do that. But when I tell them run 1 kilometer or 2, I think maybe 80 or 85% can do that. So we did pretty much the same with our solution. We brought very complex things like Microsoft Teams or FindTime, Delve, Concept Board, all that stuff in very, very, very small pieces. So people who did our exercises or our tasks could get further very, very, very fast. And they were motivated because they could do things by themselves. And that brings us to our solution. Ruth?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple points to this slide, if you don't mind, Ollie. We have this series of how might we questions that we've listed here, and really these basically describe the iterations we had during development. So we started very early on, like, okay, we want to give them guiding questions instead of telling them what to do, but like we need relevant use cases. So what are those use cases? You know, what's the half marathon? And how do we break that down into smaller steps? And the last question on here is actually still a work in progress. So we're still iterating on our app to continue building it. And probably the hardest part before we get to the solution was actually this shift in mindset from instructing to guiding. As it's a completely new way of thinking about IT training. And for people who've been doing IT training for a long time, I just go through step by step and I tell you what to do and how to use the software. And we just stopped telling people what to do, which was uncomfortable for trainers and for learners. But we actually think it's far more effective. So now let's get to the solution that we have.
Ruth, even our consultants had that problem.
Yeah.
I think it took them a day or two to get in the idea.
Yeah, it's a paradigm shift. You have to go through a bit of a switch in your own mindset. So what's resulted is a Power App, and the Power App is called Give Me 5. We've created a self-paced learning system that delivers content in manageable chunks in about 5 minutes per day. And the tests are low threshold to allow learners to jump right in, but they're not only for beginners, and they cover content for our expert users as well. And we really wanted to encourage making learning part of the daily work routine so that people aren't taking time out of their work life to go learn and then going back to work. I mean, learning is really part of working. We wanted to create something fun and motivating and make Microsoft learning and training not boring. We wanted to flatten the forgetting curve. So this gap that happens after you attend a training before you need the tool, we wanted to reduce that gap completely. And of course, to generate effective knowledge transfer by shifting the work of thinking onto the learner. So when we say, okay, we're delivering little knowledge nuggets or skill nuggets in 5-minute increments, it sounds like our inspiration may have come from language learning apps that do something similar, but actually the sources were a little more surprising. Ollie?
Yep. A year ago, I had back problems. And because of the pandemic, my physiotherapist told me that he's got no schedules. So I have to get, I must have handled, I had to handle my back problems on myself. And so I switched on my computer and searched for what are good trainings for my back. And I found an app that is called Give Me 5 for your back. And I did these 5-minute trainings for like 8 weeks every day. And because it was so short, it was like these 5 minutes, not more. I kept on doing this training and did it 8 weeks every day. I didn't miss one day. And that was very inspiring for me. So I thought, why don't keep this type of learning in for IT things or tools? And when we first started with our first approach that was called Lernwerkstatt, we had these tasks, these small. Can you go to the next?
Yeah. Oh, it was the previous one, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly that one.
Yeah.
No, the next one.
Which one are you looking for?
Yeah, the user feedback.
Ah, okay. Sorry.
When we started with Lernwerkstatt, we guided the trainees through the learning tasks, and we found out very quick what Ruth already mentioned, that some people were very quick and they solved like 32 or 40 tasks within 20 minutes, and some other guys took like 5 tasks in 20 minutes. And so we found out that both of them were happy with how we provided these tasks and the idea, because the learners could learn in their speed. They don't have to stop a video. They don't have to ask always in a webinar. They just did everything in their speed. And that was, for us, it was a pretty good experience. And we got lots and lots of great feedbacks.
That's true. And we had kind of two stages of involving our users or our learners in developing our app. The first one Ollie has just talked about in terms of, we started with like coaching them through these tasks. So we were getting a lot of direct feedback, and we could iterate quite quickly based on that feedback. And then after we had built the Power App, and I want to note here that possibly there's software on the market that solves this problem or offers this functionality, but we've built a Power App within the Microsoft suite, built by two people in kind of their free working time. So after building the Power App, we started conducting more in-depth user interviews to get feedback. And I've translated a few quotes from those interviews here on the slide. We really like the feedback that the small tasks and integrated support are helpful, and that it's not just for beginners, because that, of course, helps us meet our own goals. I think the time comments on the right, the last two, are helpful for us in terms of gauging the need for the format, as well as functional requirements in terms of reducing complexity and making sure that our tasks are manageable for everyone who works with the app.
And as Bruce mentioned, and what we had in our session declaration, the style of tasks we provide bases on each other. So if you do not start the app like Microsoft Teams, you cannot build a new team or invite people to a meeting or something. So that's the part of escape room, because if you do not solve a specific task, you cannot go further most of the time. Okay, I think it's time to start the live demo.
I think so too. Let's have a look at what does this app look like.
So this is,
it's all in German.
Yeah, it's all in German. This is the Lernwerkstatt, our first approach. And as you can see here, we have like first steps or overview about Microsoft Planner, and all the tasks we built are in one big list. And for this first approach, we thought this is good because people or the learner knows what's coming up and he can go on as long as he likes. But most of the people were overwhelmed. They said it's too much. There are hundreds of tasks, and I don't know. It's too much. I don't have the time for that. And because we always get the feedback that our users have no time, we switched to this new approach called Give Me 5. And this is the latest app we did, starting with our company colors. So the user can choose if he likes the light style or the dark style. We grouped the Microsoft tools, or the tools we mainly use in the IT, in groups. So this is mostly around managing tasks. This is about communication, finding sources and information, automation, or workshops and meetings. And so let's go to communication. There we got tools like Concept Board. Maybe you know Mural. In Germany, a big provider is Concept Board, maybe not known in the US. Microsoft Teams or Whiteboard. And if I go to Whiteboard, I start the 5-minute tasks and have some, Ruth, help me out. Group
sections.
Or sections, exactly, sections of tasks. And for each section, I got steps like in this section, I got 4 steps, and each of these steps, the tasks within the step are 5 minutes for a user. So this is like, I go to step 1, load the whiteboard from the Microsoft Store, create a new whiteboard, change the background of the whiteboard, create some Post-its, find 2 solutions to write on a Post-it, and that's pretty much the tasks. So as you can see, it's quite easy to solve, but for the users, which are first-time users of Whiteboard, it could be very challenging. And that's all about the app. If a user got his 5-minute task for the day, he can choose to make another step on the same day, or maybe he puts the app away and gets a reminder next day within Microsoft Teams maybe, or via email, to do the next tasks for the day. And that's
if I can, if I can just interrupt. I think one thing that's important here, we have clearly created a structure for these tasks to live in. But the tasks themselves, you'll notice most of them don't have a little hint icon next to them. And so, okay, for first installation, we gave them a little bit of help on how they can install. Otherwise, they're going to have a hard time getting started. But we don't tell them where and how to create a new whiteboard. We just say it's a thing they have to do. And if you're designing curriculum, I think you go through, and these are maybe headings that you have. Okay, I'm going to show them how to create a new board, and then these are the steps that go with it. And so one of the challenges we had was actually breaking down the tasks into something manageable that somebody can do without any instruction or help. And this is where we've shifted the thinking onto the learner. Okay, my job right now is to create a new whiteboard. Now I have to actually look around in the screen and read what's in front of me and figure out which icon or which menu option is going to get me there. And one thing we're actually trying to support with this is self-sufficiency with tools, and the mindset that, we know our world of tools and software is always changing and constantly changing. That's not going to go backwards. I think, change is our standard now. So we want to also create amongst our colleagues this ability to constantly keep up with new tools. And okay, here's a thing I need to do and I don't know how to do it. I'm going to figure it out myself. And I don't have to go to a training for that. It sounds like we want to make ourselves redundant, which is actually a great goal.
And what we also did is for the first 2 sections, we got a very small video, like 1 minute, that just shows what's within this section. What will you learn when you fulfill this section? So let's have a look at the basis of
at the back end.
At the back end. It's all based on standard Microsoft tools. This is a SharePoint list, and we got our 750 tasks within a big SharePoint list for all the tools and all the groups. We are combining the tools, because like Microsoft Teams is good for meetings, and it's also a tool for communication. Or Concept Board is also used for meetings and for communication. So, and here we go. Oh, session closed. This is a view to the Power App itself. Power App is a local platform hosted by Microsoft, and it's pretty straightforward. You could build your app or your screens by let's say by drawing them, by bringing the like labels or buttons or text boxes or media on screen, and giving them a little bit logic by programming, but just a little bit. Some parts are very hard, When I say a little bit, it looks like this. But for a programmer, this is nearly no code. So, and I mentioned that we are also send reminders, and we are also able to send the questions via Microsoft Teams. And this was built with a Power Automate script that looks like this. Oh, I have to go back to the edit screen so you can see it. And this script is very, very complex because Power Apps is straightforward, but sometimes very, how could I say? You have to think around the corner sometimes within Power Automate. Power Apps is, for me, much easier. Okay, Ruth.
All right.
Let's go back to the presentation.
Okay, I'll share my screen again. So one thing Ollie mentioned is that we've also integrated it using Power Automate with Teams. All of our colleagues are using Microsoft Teams, so it's become our central hub in the workday. So it's nice if we can port their 5-minute learning sessions directly there. So they're getting little pop-up cards with reminders, and they can actually do all of the tasks directly within the Teams. They can check them off in the Teams environment, put it that way. Obviously, they have to start the individual software.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to leave your Microsoft Teams app, and you don't need the app we built. You just need the app to change your tool you would like to learn, or sometimes it's easier to do that in the app because you also got the help functions, and we did not manage to bring the help function within Microsoft Teams. Okay, what's next?
So we have a few things still on our plate that we'd like to implement. One is a reminder function. Another one is to improve our gamification. So yeah, we've got a little bit of escape room in there in the sense that you have to complete one task to get to the next. But we'd like to up the playfulness of the app considerably.
Yeah, but maybe by achieving some avatars or bringing real games when you complete a tool, or all the tasks of a tool, or all the steps you have to make for one. Must help me out.
Section.
Block for one section. Yeah. But we did not get there currently because, as Ruth mentioned, we are doing all about the app in our free time, in our free work time. So it's not much. And also a next step will be to inform users about content of new features. Microsoft is bringing a lot of new features into Teams, into SharePoint. And when we just inform the users on our intranet sites, most of the users do not get the information. And with our tool, we are able to bring the information to the user. Hey, user, you learned about Microsoft Teams. Here are some new tasks for you to show you what was newly built or brought from Microsoft into Microsoft Teams, so you can learn that also if you like. And also currently we are rolling out our app in the company. This started last week, and we had a lot of bugs. So we had to stop the Teams integration, but because we are citizen developers, no one cares, and all the people say, hey, the app works great, and the Teams integration, if you manage to bring the Teams integration back to life, it would be awesome. But the app itself is very, very helpful.
So when we submitted our topic for the conference, we weren't really sure how far we would be by the time our presentation came around. I think it's pretty exciting that we managed to launch just last week, and then we get to present about it today. We also have a new work program that we're currently rolling out within the company that has an entire workshop series. And we've placed the app prominently in the materials for the workshop series. So in the last week, we've got over 200 users that have already signed up. And that's a lot at the moment in Germany, particularly because everyone's on vacation right now. There's a 2-week break for schools at the moment. Everyone's on vacation. Tomorrow's a holiday. No one's actually around. So having 200 users is pretty good. Also considering that, as an enabling team, we probably have between 100 and 200 participants in training workshops or webinars per month. So we've kind of already broken that number.
In 1 day. Okay. Any questions?
All right. So I'm interested. I'm not sure how many people are actually in the room and whether we can get to hear their questions as well. But everyone in the online audience is also welcome to either ask a question in the chat or I think there might be a way where you can actually unmute yourself and ask a question as well. Don't be afraid. Even if the questions are about programming Power Apps or the questions are about Microsoft itself or whatever you got.
Bruce, we had some questions.
I say go for it because I went ahead and if you have any questions, feel free to post them into chat or go ahead and post a note there and we can unmute you and you're able to freely ask there. If you're in the room, just walk up to the room host and she'll be able to pass you a mic and you can ask your questions that way. I guess I'll ask the question right now. What type of reporting do you have on this? Are you able to, follow how long people are going? Do you have to report this up to, managers, or is it just, as you said, it's your side gig, so you're just kind of doing it to see how successful it is?
That's very difficult to answer because in Germany, it's not really allowed to track a lot because, in Germany,
data protection.
The what? Data protection,
data protection.
And
Safe harbor.
And the Betriebsrat,
the Works Council.
The Works Council is very strong here in our company, so we are not allowed to track a lot.
So I think, Bruce, we can track usage statistics, but we can't track individual user.
But what we get is direct feedback from users, and we had some testers, and they said they tried or tested apps where they saw they are experts in, and one of them told me, when I started, it was so easy. I thought I could do it within an hour or something. And after a day, I found out that I had a lot of unknown things within the Microsoft Teams app I did not know about. And now I'm very excited I did the program because I learned so much about these tools.
So I see a question in the chat. Yeah, exactly.
Go for
it. So I've seen tasks, but what about explanations? How is the learning content presented? And we don't present a lot of content is the answer. So I have two answers for you. One is that we are very much focused on giving a task where the learner has to discover the content themselves. So we're not presenting a lot of content, but we are giving some supporting content where necessary. So Ollie showed earlier while he was in the app that there was a short video you could play, and sometimes we just have that in a helpful hint that comes as a pop-up. But for the most part, we've tried to avoid presenting content and to stick to guiding questions, that lead them to skill building on their own. You're welcome. I'm interested, we're probably a fairly small group, so I'm interested from people in the audience, what kind of roles do you have? Are topics of, digital skill building relevant to the work that you're doing? And yes, Mara, we have to have good scaffolding questions, absolutely.
That was the hard part for our consultant.
Definitely the hard part. We started just Ollie and I, and we actually got some students who were doing internships with us to help out. And we recognized pretty quickly that in order to generate this much content in terms of tasks and the scaffolding questions, we were going to need support. So we hired some external consultants to help us, and it was a challenging task for them as well. I think Ollie, probably we invested about 20 days worth of work with the consultants.
They brought a lot of tasks, especially for SharePoint, and the feedback from them was, now we got a lot of tasks for our webinars. So because they had the problem themselves that they just teach all the time. Their students are like, click here, click there, do this, do that. And the students did what the teacher said. And their feedback was also, we need more practice. How can we practice more? How can we practice on ourselves? And now they got a lot of tasks they could bring to their students.
Ollie, would you like to answer the next question?
Direct interactions? You mean if a learner has no idea what to do? We brought the ability to use Microsoft Bookings to ask a trainer. And also each learner is brought to a Microsoft Teams team. And in this team, he could ask his questions in a group of people, and the group is answering, because a lot of them did some tasks already. So the learners help themselves, and if no answers coming, I jump in and help these people out.
You're welcome.
Bruce, we should not forget to thank Robin.
Absolutely. I can put up our final slide.
If there's someone in the audience who is interested in learning Power Apps, we could recommend a colleague from EMBW. He has a YouTube channel called R2Power, and I learned a lot from him. And he also helped me with the first steps with the app, and every time when I stuck, he jumped in and helped me out.
So yeah, we'd like to give the shout out to Robin for all his help. And our contact information is on this slide as well. And here's your German lesson for the day. Vielen Dank. Thank you.
If there's no more question, I have some questions. Ruth, is it true that in Germany there is no speed limit on the Autobahn?
It is true that in Germany there is no speed limit on the Autobahn for certain sections of freeway.
And is it true that beer is in some restaurants cheaper than water?
I think beer is cheaper than water in most restaurants. The good news is when I came here in 2000, I couldn't get tap water in a restaurant at all. And don't even think about asking for ice water because it doesn't exist. So even still water was difficult to get in the year 2000. Beer is still cheaper than water in restaurants. And I noticed recently beer is also cheaper than water at the grocery store.
Another learning for you. Yeah, when I travel in the world, I'm always asked these questions
About the Autobahn.
about the German Autobahn. Yeah.
Great. Any other questions, either for the folks online or in the room, either about the presentation or about Germany?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank both of you for your presentation. It's great information. If anyone wants to review it later on, all these sessions are recorded, so you could just actually come back here to the same session link, and the recording will automatically start playing. Pretty cool functionality of the platform. Yeah, thanks everyone, and we have a short break before our next talk, and I think it's about 15 minutes.
All right. Enjoy the rest of the conference, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.